All right, I have a very important question. I want you to reply to me with your hand on your heart, okay? Ready?
Yep, it's here. Okay.
Better Nidalee player, you or Jankos? Hello guys and welcome to another SK Gaming podcast. I am together with... Wait, this way. Treatz, thank you for joining me.
Hello, thank you.
How have you been?
I mean, so far the split hasn't started the optimal way, but otherwise, personally, I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Good to hear. And as for the split, deep breath. Everyone's going through it. Deep breath. You guys are gonna rock. I know it. You know it as well. So I'm gonna take you away from this split. I'm gonna drag you away, and I'm gonna take you back, like
Perfect.
back, really back when you first started ever touching games, like either a console or a PC. What was it?
I mean, I think the first gaming memories, or in general, just playing anything, was probably on the Sega with my brother when I was really young. That's a while back. I mean, I can't remember what games. There was a bunch of different games. Then obviously I was playing like stuff like Pokemon on the Game Boy. Yeah.
Okay,
Game
your
Boy
favorite
Color.
Pokemon one?
Oof. I would just say Charizard. Very meta answer.
And your favorite game? Which one? Which color?
On Game Boy?
Yeah.
What are the first generations called? Wait, let me search it up here.
I think it was like a red, a yellow, a blue, and the yellow one, which was like the Pikachu one, and then it had gold and silver. This was the first two generations.
I think gold and silver was my favorite, so probably just like the silver one. I think that's the one I played the most.
Same. Nice.
Oh,
High
cool.
five. Let's go. All right. And where does League of Legends land in all of this? When did you ever touch it?
So I was in my school and I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft. That was like my go-to game.
Okay, you are literally me. I was playing World of Warcraft too. What is going on, Treatz?
Okay, well, like, I think honestly a lot of people played World of Warcraft at some point in their life. Yeah, but I was spamming World of Warcraft. I was high ranked in the game, and my friends started playing League of Legends, and they were like, "Oh, you should join us." And I was like, "This game looks like for children. It looks so easy. Such a bad game." And I was like, "I'll just try it anyway." And then I tried it.
I'm freaking out, right?
Oh, were you the same?
I'll tell you why I'm freaking out. Go on.
Yeah, and then I just tried League. I thought it was fun. I had a good time with my friends, and yeah, rest is history.
2011, I think it was a year after beta was released from League of Legends, and my cousin got me into World of Warcraft, and I was playing for like a lot of years at that point, like 3 or 4 years I was playing at that point, and then he completely like disconnected from World of Warcraft. He found League of Legends because it was free as well, so he didn't have to pay a subscription as in WoW. And he was like, "You should really try this game. We should play together." And I look at the game and I'm like, "This is for children. What the hell? I'm not gonna play that." So it was my reply was like literally your reply. You play the same Pokemon, you play the same games, you reply with the same way. I'm just not a pro player. I don't have the hands. All good.
Yeah, similar stories.
Oh, come on. You can't say that. You hit more spears than the Jankos. You can't say that.
True.
All right. When was the turning point in all this? When did the game become from just a game, just a hobby, I'm having fun, to, oh, shoot, I can go professional on this?
I mean, it's kind of weird because I was high rank for, like, from season 3, basically. I started playing in late season 2. So in season 3, I was high-low. Like, I mean, it was like Diamond 199 LP or whatever it was back then. And then it was like season 4 I was challenger, and then season 5 I ended high school, and I was not really thinking about pro. It just kind of happened after that because I finished high school and I was like, oh, I'm kind of high rated. Maybe this could be something, you know. I was not really feeling like university studies and stuff, so I was like, might as well give this a shot. Like this looks interesting and I'm good at the game, so why not?
Okay, we're talking about like a few years back when esports hadn't really bloomed at all. It was very uncertain. That there was barely an esports scene for League of Legends.
It was not a profession back then. It was more so like you did it for fun, and then, I mean, it's a competitive sport, right? So you have fun competing, even though you don't like have it as a job like you do now. So yeah, it was definitely different.
Okay, and with your decision to do that, where does your friends and family come in? Like, did they understand your choice there?
I mean, definitely harder to convince family when you're like yeah, I'm gonna play for this team. They'll sign me for like I don't know, 300 euros a month. They're like, are you gonna survive with that? Like, what are you planning to do? I mean, so you kind of have to like walk them through it a bit and tell them that. I mean, obviously, this is not the highest level. On the higher levels, you can make more money and have it as a job and as a profession. So I think it takes some convincing. And I mean, now they're fully supportive and they understood it back then as well. It was just a kind of a struggle in the start, you could say.
Okay, that was awesome because my next question would be, how is the situation now after you're like gone to an A, you've come back, it's literally settled that you are a pro player at this point. So how is your family now?
I mean, now they're super supportive. Especially my mom watches like all my games, and she even watches other games. So she would comment on like different NA games sometimes, like, "Oh, what is this guy doing in this game?" and stuff like that. And I'm like, "Yeah." She watches more League than me sometimes. But yeah, they're all very supportive, and that's
Does she
nice.
understand what's going on in game? Like if you make a sick play, does she understand how you made it?
Yeah, for sure. She gets like the big picture, not like the specific items and stuff, but overall like what's going on and who's winning. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool. Okay. Now, talk to me a little bit about the grind. And I'm saying grind because obviously LEC better than LCS, EU better than NA. So I'll say
Yep,
it
yep.
was a grind through NA, and now you've landed into the LEC. Talk to me about that process.
I mean, I think for a lot of players to reach an LEC level, it's kind of about luck as well. I don't think it's only skill. I think it's certain element of luck. But obviously, if you're more skilled, you increase your chances of luck and getting a team. So for me, I think I was LEC ready before I went to NA already. But because there was no insane opportunity for me, I thought NA was a pretty good path to take because of what I could learn there as well. Um, so for me, it was kind of like I kind of had the feeling for a while, even though I didn't play on an LEC level. So to finally play, especially last split as a support, obviously, it was kind of like a confirmation that I was not delusional and I could have done it for a while.
And what do you find different? Life in NA, life in EU. How has the change been between these two? Because it was a bunch of years, right? It was 2 years, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I was like a 1 and 2 quarters or something like that. Like it was some time in NA. Overall, I would say the biggest difference is kind of like the atmosphere in general. Also, I've been in Berlin only when there's been COVID, so I haven't really experienced
Yeah.
as much as I would otherwise. Um, but I think the biggest thing is just like general atmosphere. I think LA is very laid back. It's like sunny, palm trees, good food, and Berlin is a bit more like an active city. I would say that's the biggest difference.
Okay, and that's the difference in lifestyle. What's the difference in the league?
I mean, obviously LEC is
It's
just
fine. You can
better
trust them. It's
players.
fine. It's fine. They're not listening.
I
You can
mean,
trust them.
I think it's really obvious for anyone watching. Like LCS has, especially I think the bottom teams in LCS just are worse than every team in LEC. Whereas I think even the bottom teams in LEC are pretty decent. Especially, I mean, obviously Spring Split, you have more info than you have on Summer Split. So even in Spring Split, I thought that teams like Astralis were not actually like that horrible.
Mhm.
Um, but the bottom teams in NA I think are horrible. So that's the difference.
Yeah, so I've had an idea for a while now. What if we take the two top teams from EU Masters, from like the EU Masters finals, and we put them against the two bottom teams from the LCS? I was like, I would love to see the clash between these two because I'm almost 100% sure that the EU Masters teams could take the games.
They can win, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But so can the NA Academy teams as well. That's the problem as well. I think NA has a lot of talent in Academy and a lot of good teams in Academy, but yeah, it's just it's not happening with the roster moves. They're not happening. So yeah, it's hard for the NA Academy talent to show it as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially when you're signing a EU talent and you're benching it, right?
Oh yeah, that one too.
All right, coming to now, I did not unfortunately have the chance to talk to you about your previous split. When you came in as a support, your first split in the LEC, your first split back in Europe, and there was a lot of talk about you. A lot of talk about you. Treatz everything, treats this, treats that, treats MVP. Does that put pressure on you, or does that ignite the fire? Because as you said, it was a confirmation that you weren't delusional, basically. You could do it. So how did you feel?
I think in general I'm kind of level-headed when it comes to both criticism and praise. So I don't want to take too much from the praise and too much from the criticism. I try to stay on a neutral level. So obviously it's nice to hear a lot of good things, but I think for me it's just the most important thing is performing for my team. And if my team is happy, then I'm happy. And obviously it should lead to wins, right? So I think that was the biggest point for me. I don't really care too much about my individual performance. It's more about the team aspect for me. But on an individual basis as well, I think I played like good, and it was fun for me to have a successful personal split in the LEC at least.
It kind of links together though, right? If you make a sick play and your team wins out of this, then you're happy
Yeah.
with yourself and they're happy with you and you're happy all together. So I think
Very
it's great.
true.
Yeah, that creates like a really nice atmosphere. And it's also like a chain where everything comes back around. Now,
Yeah.
I don't want to focus too much on performance so far because there's been a lot of teams that have started, spring or summer split with a loss streak. It happens. I just want to focus on the fact that roster changes have happened. It's happened in a lot of teams, but there's been significant jungle gapping from you specifically in the early game. And I want to ask you, how have you found yourself integrating into the jungle role? Now, I know it's not something that you're looking to do permanently. It's just for one split. But how are you working through that process?
I mean, for me at least, I think any pro player should be able to play any role at a pretty good level, at least on a pro player level. So for me at least, who's always thought a lot about the jungle and has worked with coaches that focus on the jungle, especially in NA, there was a lot of jungle talk in my teams always. So I've kind of picked up stuff here and there, and I've also played jungle myself.
TSM, they change junglers like I change shirts, so.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, so I've been around like a lot of jungle focus, and I've also played jungle myself in solo queue. So for me, it was honestly not that hard. I think the role is pretty similar to support in a lot of ways. There's a bit more mechanics on some champs, I think, but otherwise it's pretty similar. So I would say it's kind of easy to swap back and forth.
Talking about mechanics, we came from a meta where it was like heavy farming the Nidalees, the Graves, the Hecarim, the Lilia, into a much more open meta, I want to say right now. Pretty much everything is playable, from the tanks to the assassins to the carries. Do you think that benefits you, the fact that it's more open, rather than it sort of putting you in a bubble of you need to play this farming junglers or we can't play the game?
I mean, I think I would be happy playing any meta on any role, to be honest. I think for junglers, it's definitely very open right now. So I think it's more about the direction your team wants to take, more so than what's actually strong. Because as you say, you can play the early gankers, you can play the farm stuff. I mean, so have I already played in the LEC as well. I've played different styles. So I think it's fun, at least. Fun for viewers as well to see more variation than Hecarim Udra every game. And for playing, it's also more fun. So yeah.
I feel like the Hecarim Udyr meta is sort of like the Azir Corki that happens every year at Worlds.
It is.
Like resident sleeper on their chair, and like 14 minutes later, they just wake up for the final team fight.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right, I have a very important question. I want you to reply to me with your hand on your heart, okay? Ready?
Yep, it's here. Okay.
Better Nidalee player, you're Jankos.
Jankos.
No, Treatz, you did yourself dirty. What?
I can't take that from him. He might be getting old and missing spears, but he's still a better Nidalee, I think, at least.
Okay, you're very humble. I respect that. I think you're the better Nidalee here, mate. You're hitting more spears. You're out smiting. You're out jungling, like jungle gapping him. I think you're better Nidalee here. All right, moving forward now with the addition of Lily, because the announcement has been made. So no more 2 autofills in the team. It's only you remaining, which I don't find you an autofill because I made my research, and in 2015 you started as a jungler. I don't forget, in DreamHack 2015 winter.
Yeah.
What are something you guys are actively working on? Because that early game looks spotless, and then the mid game is a bit of a problem, which in a lot of teams can be a problem. So what are you guys actively working on to fix that?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the biggest thing for putting me in the jungle was to fix our early game, which I think the jungler kind of decides the early game. So that's kind of been fixed, you could say. But then came a new problem, which is now our late game. So it's definitely been a thing where we like focus our direction, and we have to kind of focus more on what's actually going wrong in the games where we lose. And a lot of the times it's just been the team fighting so far, where I think in general we just haven't like stepped up and done what's necessary to win the fights. And I think the enemy teams have just played the fights better, so they win. I mean, it's pretty simple, honestly. This meta is like farm, gank a bit, who gets the Dragon Soul, they most likely win the game. So whoever wins those fights most likely wins the game. And we've just lost a lot of the fights, so we have to start winning them.
I love how you said that the meta is very simple, but we've seen a lot of teams, for example, like Excel, they just pick R button champions. They're like, it's all about team fighting, right? We'll meet in the pit, we'll press our R buttons, and we'll win. But the problem sometimes comes from, you've mentioned it, like the early game is everything that counts. Because if you're a whole item ahead, an item and a half, even if they press their R buttons, they cannot catch you.
Don't die.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like there's such an open meta in general right now where everything is playable as long as you are able to execute, which gives a lot of freedom. For example, for you being in a role that's not your main role, obviously you can play it at the same level as all the pros. But again,
it's different.
I'm pretty sure that maybe if it was season 2 and Alistar jungle was a thing, you know, you would be an MVP on that.
Right. It's definitely very open, and I think it's kind of, there has to be a balance, and I think it's honestly a very skillful meta where if you see someone picking a very late game comp, if the enemy team can punish early game, then suddenly it's a super hard game for them. But if they actually get to late game, it looks like it's unlosable. So yeah, it's kind of like a risk versus reward type of meta right now.
What would you say are some of your favorite type of champions to play? Are you more like on the ganking style? Do you want to play more facilitator? You want more the farming ones? What do you enjoy personally more?
I mean, the easy answer is just to say I like engaging, which I did as a support as well. So that's kind of like that's like the obvious. Yeah, I mean, I had some good ults, but yeah, that was like one of those games where the early versus the scaling didn't really work out. But yeah, I think engagers are just fun to play in general. Like making plays is always fun. But in the jungle specifically, I think farming champs are also really fun because you can clearly see that if you outfarm the enemy, if you take all the objectives, that you're like clearly more powerful. So like on a Nidalee or a Lilia or something like that, I think that's also really fun.
I love that you mentioned the AP junglers because I wanted to ask you about this. We have seen in the LCK so much Diana being picked and prioritized. Same in the LPL. Treatz, is there any chance you get your hands on the Moon Lady?
Definitely a chance, yes. I mean, I'm looking at every league as well, and we're all talking about what the best picks are, and obviously we're looking into any like pick that's good in the meta.
Hot team, you had it here first. Okay, you have been put into a meta where it just changed from, like we said, the farming to pretty much open and you play everything, and then it's just bound to change again with a lot of the nerfs on the mobility. So the possibility for the Corki Azir meta is coming back, because if you can't reach them and you only have one spell, Azir will be huge, right? Throwing you back out and you having no way to come back in is like a huge tool. So talk to me a little bit about how you see the future in general in the jungle with all the mobility being taken away.
Yeah, I mean, all the mobility, especially movement speed items, are being nerfed pretty heavily, right? So I think it might just make the champs that are naturally like faster better. So stuff like Nidalee comes to mind, Lilia comes to mind, although they're gonna change her, I think, where you're like very fast without items and you don't really have.
Too?
Yeah, potentially Hecarim as well. He's also a very speedy boy. So yeah, I think those champs that have their own movement speed and don't really rely on items might be stronger. But there's like a lot of junglers right now that just have a lot of random movement speed. Like Diana is a good example where she just has Proto Belt and then she just speeds across the entire fight. So yeah, I think that will be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless there's Azir and Corki's coming back, like I said, and then it's not going to be very interesting to see.
Exactly.
Now, let's have a peek into the future and see if you're clairvoyant. Our team aside, because we want to be impartial here, right?
Yep.
Who do you think is the biggest contender to take it this specific split?
Oof, that's a good question.
A lot of teams close, huh?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the top 3 teams are pretty close, I would say. Like Mad, Rogue, and G2. I don't think Mad is going to win this split again, though.
Oh.
I would like to say... I'm just going to say that Rogue wins, because it's... yeah. Let's say that Rogue wins.
Okay, why will Rogue win, Treatz?
I mean, they should have won last split already as the first. Okay. And I think they only lost because of their mental being bad and choking. So I think if they fixed that, then they would have already won last split. So if Mad and Rogue go to finals again, I think Rogue will beat them.
Okay, I'm in it for that. So with Rogue in mind winning, what do you think are EU's chances at Worlds this year? Because the LPL is on freaking fire. The LCK seems to be on freaking fire, by the way, with a lot of swapping going around, because I think they're trying to mimic what SK is doing with, with Showmaker and Roleswap and so.
Exactly, yeah. They're just taking our mojo here.
The strategies,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, in general, I think, EU's top teams have always been super strong, I think. So it's kind of hard to put a percentage, but I would say, like, yeah, I think it depends on a lot of factors. I think the meta is also very important, which might change later in the split. So kind of hard to answer that, but I think depends on a lot of factors. But EU definitely is more powerful than I think other regions apart from LPL.
I always ask this question to everyone. So you said that back before you even went to NA, right? It was a grind. You felt like you were ready for back then LEC or ULCS, and you just weren't lucky enough to get into one, so you went over there. What are your tips to someone who's an up-and-comer who wants to grind through the ERLs to get into the LEC, apart from the luck, right? Because luck is always a factor that we can't change or we can't adapt to ourselves. So what should they do?
I think if you're already on a high EU Masters team, it's kind of easy from there, because I think a lot of LEC teams scout EU Master teams pretty easily. But if you're not on that level yet, I think my best tips would just be to network a lot and try to add other pro players and talk to them about random matchups, what they think about certain lanes, etc., etc. Just chat with them and like get to know them, because a lot of times in teams it's about like the general managers or teammates thinking like, okay, we need a support. Like, who do we think of, And you want to be on top of that list or very high on that list. So I think it's a lot about networking, and obviously being high on the solo queue ladder helps a lot, because your name is up there and everyone sees you. So yeah, I think my biggest tips is just networking and obviously be good at the game. And then if you have both of those, then most of the time you should make it.
Right. That was a beautiful answer, and I think people can benefit from that, because I don't think I've heard from anyone yet the word network, and I think you used it very, very beautifully right there, because if you have the connections, it's sort of word of mouth, right?
For
sure. You're gonna think of the person you've been talking to for the past month or whatever, that's very interested and very eager, because if they show you that they're interested, then you can see that if they're a good player, together with being very interested, you can see the future on them. So I'd love to end this by knowing one of your big goals or achievement for this or next year.
Ooh, that's a hard question. For this year, our goal as a team and my personal goal was to make Worlds, which is still potentially possible. Obviously, it's definitely a tricky start, but top 3 is still doable. It's only 0-5 and it's only second week, so it's doable. For next year, I think my goal will, unless I reach it, will remain the same. I think I like to set goals that are like realistic and that I can push in the future. So I would just say making Worlds.
Nice. Well, I hope you do, so I can cheer and wear my jersey and shout and scream about it. Okay, last prediction. One prediction I want. I don't know if you're watching Euro at all.
A bit, yeah. I have watched some games, but I'm not sure about the standings overall.
All right. Screw the standings.
Yeah.
Who are you cheering for?
Sweden, obviously.
Obviously. And who's going to take it all? Realistically, Treatz.
Oof. Sweden can take it, realistically. Sure. I'm not sure who the overall fan favorite is. Is it like Spain, France, Germany?
France,
I guess.
France.
Yeah, France are really good. Too? If I have to bet myself, if I have to put money on it, then I would just say like France probably.
Okay.
There must be high chance.
Yeah, I'll go with Germany, because I want to get out on the street and cheer.
Yeah, Germany, that would be cool as well, yeah.
I'm like Greek, I live for the fiesta, so I'm going with wherever I am, Well, Treatz, thank you so much for the interview / podcast. It's been an absolute freaking pleasure to have you here. And if you have anything else to add?
Not in general. Yeah, thanks for this. It was fun.
To the fans or whatever, anything you want to say?
In general, thanks for the support. I think personally I've always gotten a lot of support, even though SK has got a lot of flack, so I appreciate that at least. Hope you guys cheer for us as well, and we'll make you proud in the upcoming weeks.
I think you're an amazing support to get support. and you're also an amazing dude, so you deserve both. Thank you so much, Treatz, for joining me.
You.
And thank you everyone for joining and watching this podcast. Of course, if you want to find this amazing guy, we'll leave you all his social media down below in the description, and we'll see you again for our next podcast. Bye-bye.